far if you go to your emoji place and just put together your virtual claps and welcome our speaker.
Okay, was that where you planned on going off? You felt like you got cut off.
I was. I was. They didn't hear me when I was saying they put together. I didn't realize my mic went mute.
you-
But I was
yeah,
saying put the virtual space is all yours, Daktari. Karibu.
Asante sana. Thank you, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There's some gentlemen in the room, or at least there's some names of gentlemen in the room. Um, Thank you for showing up for yourself tonight. I'm excited to serve in FORWORK in the L&D team and to take it for the team, take one for the team by being the first to go this year with our webinar on self-doubt, from self-doubt to boss energy. So I'm excited to do this tonight, and let us hope everything works out the way I hope it does. Let me make that smaller so I stop looking at my face. So yes, I'm Dr. Faith, not a medical doctor, I'm an educator. I am a coach. I have taught for close to 2 decades. I've done doctoral education mostly and doctoral supervision. And I am a Genos certified practitioner with our very own Vicky Karuga. I am a Leadership Circle profile certified practitioner. That's a tool that I use with leaders to do 360 assessments to help them understand where they're at and how others perceive their leadership. I'm also an impostor syndrome informed coach. And as of last week, I am an influential women verified. I'm verified by influential women, and I'll mention a little bit about that later on in regards to visibility and dealing with imposter syndrome. I do speaking, coaching, educating, and what we're doing tonight, facilitating learning. So that's who I am in a nutshell. I'm also, what else am I? I'm a mother of two budding young ladies. So why is self-doubt likely to be a common business partner, especially for us as women? We live in societies where we are building businesses in very uncertain economic conditions, right? In Kenya, we've got all the taxes every so often you hear about another tax, another deduction, right? If you're operating in a different country, you've got your own economic conditions to deal with. We also carry cultural expectations, right? For most cultures, there's the expectation that women will be humble, right? They'll be respectful, and they'll definitely not be too ambitious, whatever too ambitious looks like to the beholder, right? We often operate where we are under-resourced, right? We don't have enough capital, we are under-supported, and internally we tend to be more likely to be self-critical, right? So we're talking about self-doubt, but we're also talking about imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is more than self-doubt, right? Imposter syndrome is chronic self-doubt, not run-of-the-mill self-doubt, which persists in spite of evidence that you have succeeded in the past, evidence that you're successful even now, or you've succeeded in different situations, but you find yourself doubting yourself, you find yourself perhaps procrastinating, you find yourself second guessing yourself in certain situations. So when we talk about imposter syndrome, we're really saying that it is self-doubt on steroids, right? It is this crushing emotional weight that compounds, and it has an effect on every facet of your journey as an entrepreneur. Where does it come from? It's not only internal, it's also external, right? So fewer role models and people to look up to in business, depending on the business you're in, right? We deal with external biases, and those external biases will reinforce whatever self-doubt you might have had. So it moves from being just run-of-the-mill self-doubt to, right, this thing we call imposter syndrome or imposter phenomenon. Of course, for many of us women, we also have the work-family conflict because we're likely to be caring for, parents who might be getting older. We may be caring for our own children, and you just find yourself, sort of caught between those various facets of your life. We are, interestingly enough, when I saw this masculine framing, yeah. Have you ever heard how entrepreneurship is often talked about? Such that you have to add woman to entrepreneur when you're talking about women. Like we're not the SI unit for entrepreneurship, right? It's like it's supposedly masculine. And it's the same thing with leadership, that it tends to be gendered male. So you hear about titans of industry, right? I haven't had a similar version for women, right? We also may have experienced certain early childhood experiences where, for example, maybe you came home with a grade of, B plus. And if you grew up in a house like mine, you might be asked, what happened? Why didn't you get an A? Right? Or you came home and you were number 3 and you were asked, why did the other 2 people defeat you? What was so different about them that, they are, what makes them better than you, right? And so those kinds of early socializations, early upbringing can sow the seeds that will later become imposter syndrome, imposter phenomenon, self-doubt on steroids. It could also be educational experiences where maybe teachers told you what you could or couldn't do, right? And it could be that you were told, oh, don't do that subject. That one is for boys. Or you're told, girls don't do that, or right? Any kind of experiences we might have had in the past. When you add the external stuff to the internal stuff, that's where it coalesces into this self-doubt on steroids. So that's what we're talking about, the whole spectrum from self-doubt to imposter syndrome. Now, according to Dr. Valerie Young, who I studied under for my certification as an imposter syndrome informed coach, she talks about 5 types of imposters. These are feelings that we may have, right? Feeling like an imposter does not make you an imposter, right? Feeling like an imposter means it's a feeling, right? It's you're thinking that way, you're feeling that way. It doesn't mean you're fake. It doesn't mean you're a fraud. She calls it a competence distortion, right? And so she says there's at least 5 of these, and people who hold themselves to unrealistic, unsustainable standards of competence could show up as a perfectionist. The perfectionist is very interested in how things are done, right? It's got to be perfect. So any minor flaw will cause that person to feel shame or to feel like they have failed, right? Or it could be that the show up as the expert. The expert needs to know everything there is to know, right? So in that sense, it's about what you know. And so if there's something you don't know, it triggers feelings of failure and shame. It could also show up as the soloist. And the soloist is this feeling that you must be able to do it yourself, right? So who is completing the task? I am, right? I get to do it. So because you think you should be able to do it all on your own, when you start to feel like maybe you might need help, you might need coaching, you might need tutoring, it might trigger those feelings of shame or failure. The 4th imposter type from Valerie Young is the natural genius. And this is the one who needs to not only, who not only cares about how things are done or when things are done, right? It's like it has to be about doing it right and doing it on your own terms, right? The speed at which you're able to do those things. So that natural genius, I should just know this stuff and I should be able to do it and do it perfectly. So it's like perfectionist on steroids, right? So the fact that you have to struggle to master something, right, to understand something might evoke feelings of shame. And finally, the superhuman or the superwoman, right? It's that feeling that you have to be able to just accomplish so much and accomplish so much in different facets of your life. So you want to be super mom and super daughter and super worker and super boss and super everything. Of course, that's unrealistic. So when you fall short in any of those roles, right, you start again triggers of shame because you didn't do it perfectly, because you didn't do it exactly the way you'd have wanted to in any one of those facets. Of course, we recognize that none of us is a superwoman or superhuman, but again, it's a competence distortion. It's a feeling, right? And the feeling affects how you're thinking. The thinking affects how you're feeling. It keeps, cross-pollinating in that way, back and forth between your thoughts and your feelings. And it causes you to act in a certain way. And how does that look like then when you're having these feelings of, imposter feelings or self-doubt on steroids? It may be show up as, I need to be more qualified before I can charge more, right? My version is I need one more certification, right? I need one more qualification. I need to do another course before I can feel confident in what I'm capable of doing. Or it may show up in questioning, second guessing, and questioning yourself. Who am I to speak on that panel, right? It may be that you're waiting and saying, I can't do that yet until my business is more stable, right? Or it may just show up as feeling like you're the only one who doesn't have it together, right? Like everybody else has it together. You're just the one who hasn't quite figured it out. And one of the questions I want to ask tonight, and I hope you'll post in the chat, is what is the voice of your inner critic, right? What does your inner critic sound like? As I said, for me, it's that first one of feeling like I need one more qualification, one more certification, one more course, one more tool, right? Before I can feel fully confident owning the space of being a coach. And so I delayed even calling myself a coach because I kept wanting to get one more thing done, right? Of course, I have managed to overcome that with a lot of positive self-talk and self-compassion, right? But what does your inner critic sound like? Okay. So when we give in to this self-doubt on steroids, we may delay a launch, and then you end up missing market opportunities because, again, you're waiting for things to be just so. You're waiting for that program you're working on or that product you're working on to be perfect, right? Or you underprice your expertise. I know I do that, right? And I'm working on overcoming that particular one for me. Or you may even diminish your physical or vocal presence, right? You want to shrink, you want to hide, you want to sit, you don't want to sit at the table, you want to sit behind the table, right? Or that perfectionism tax that means that you're constantly polishing and you spend so much time. And I like one of the word of the year that one of you posted, which was just do it, right? That's how we deal with perfectionism, is remind ourselves, just do it, right? That B plus is better than nothing at all, right? Just do what you need to do, just do it. So that's various ways that we can understand what the inner critic sounds like. But what is the impact then? There's an emotional weight that comes with this self-doubt on steroids. That persistent fear and anxiety that people might find out you're not there, you're not as good, right, as they think you are. you're not as qualified as they think you are, or you're not as together as they think you are. This sort of just fear of being found out to kind of be like a fraud, right? That chronic self-doubt that just persists in spite of the fact that you're actually successful, right? The emotional exhaustion. It is tiring, right? It is tiring to keep having that internal battle going on in your head. And of course, the shame and isolation from feeling like you're the only one who's experiencing this thing. Those are some of the emotional weight of these imposter feelings. So from here on, I want to just run through some tools that you can use, and then we'll have time at the end for Q&A. So some of the tools that you could use to help you overcome and navigate this chronic self-doubt or self-doubt on steroids. And apparently I am trying to jump. So one of the tools is to externalize that inner voice. When that inner voice starts telling you things, right, starts to have that negative self-talk, talk back, name it. When you name it, you're more likely to be able to tame it. So for example, you reframe, instead of saying, I am a failure, right? And I've gone through this a few times, I try to launch something and then I suffer from a failure to launch. Am I going to say I am a failure, or am I going to say, well, that didn't work, let's try something different, right? So when you say I'm a failure, that sounds like a fact. So if that's what you're telling yourself, you might actually start to believe that. But if you say, name it, Brenda is worried, Faith is worried that we will fail, that's an observation, right? So name that in a critic, give it a name, right? I like to call mine Kavura. Kavura is the diminutive of my middle name, which is Wambura or Nyambura. So if I start to talk to myself and say, Kavura, shut up, right? Kavura, you're not in charge today. You just sit over there, you observe and be quiet, because Nyambura needs to get things moving, right? So naming it helps to give it some distance, helps to just sort of set it aside. I like this quote from Ariana Huffington of the Huffington Post, who says that in her case, in her experience, the greatest obstacle for me has been the voice in my head that I call my obnoxious roommate. I wish someone would invent a tape recorder that we could attach to our brains to record everything we tell ourselves. We would realize how important it is to stop this negative self-talk. It means pushing back against our obnoxious roommate with a dose of wisdom, right? So talk back at that obnoxious roommate who is sitting in that negativity, who's attempting to have a pity party, right? And just recognize that it's there, set it aside. So it's not to, pretend it doesn't exist, but it's to name it and be able to face it. The second tool that I'm suggesting is that you keep a record of your accomplishments. You keep a record of what you have, how far you have come, right? In spirit terms, we can say, it's your Ebenezer diary, right? This far I have come, this far the Lord has brought me. And how do you do that? It's to be able to remind yourself, right, that you've actually been successful, that you're actually successful, that you have done things before, that you have succeeded before. When that self-doubt starts creeping in, you want to face it, right, with evidence that actually it's not so bad. I was having those feelings earlier today, and I was sharing this with my colleagues, that I was having moments of discouragement earlier today, just, feeling in the feels and like, oh my goodness, it's already the first week of February and business is not businessing, and right, things are not working out quite the way I'd have hoped. And I decided to write about it. I posted it on LinkedIn because I like to, again, right, just deal with my feelings. And as I was doing that, it just reminded me that, I looked at myself, I looked at what I've accomplished even just this week. And I reminded myself that it's not so bad, right? It's not so bad. Yesterday, I had a nice, big, fat interview somewhere, and the conversation went really well. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but at least, right, the interview went great. Then I reminded myself that I have this coming up this evening. I get to do something I enjoy. I get to do something I love. And for women, which is, just gives me so much energy, right? And just there, in that moment of reminding myself that there is some accomplishment or even some potential accomplishment, right? I may not be getting paid to do this, so it's not going ka-ching-ching right now. But guess what? I am working in my purpose. And that encouraged me, and I was able to move through that sense of discouragement, right? So give yourself that evidence, right? Put things around if you need to. If you need to have, your accomplishments on the wall, do so. Because sometimes maybe you just need to walk around your office or walk around your room and remind yourself, been there, done that, I have accomplished things, right? So ask yourself, what have I built, right? In spite of, in the midst of, right? Any of the fear, right? What have I accomplished? What have I built? Ask yourself, what problems do clients trust me to solve, right? What feedback have I consistently received? Those kinds of, when you have answers for those questions, you're reminding yourself, you're giving yourself that, pep talk, positive pep talk. Been there, done that. I have evidence that I have accomplished things in the past, and I'll accomplish more in the future. That gets you through that moment of imposter feeling. And then the next tool that I put down here is that it's really important to regulate your emotions, to regulate your nervous system, right? Especially when you're in the midst of some stressful situation, right? It's very helpful to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. So you cannot lead boldly if your body is in that fight or flight. So take a moment to breathe, take a moment to exhale, right? Inhale deeply, exhale slowly. Just helps you regulate your nervous system. So grounded presence works. It helps. If you're about to walk into a room where you need to go make a pitch, before you open that door, right, give yourself a moment to just breathe in and breathe out, right? That boss energy when you feel like, oh my goodness, this deal has fallen through, remind yourself it's feedback, right? Failure is feedback. When you get feedback that stings, remind yourself that you can learn, right, from past mistakes. When you're in those high stakes conversations, calm yourself down. And it doesn't take much. One or two cycles of breathing deeply will get you regulated. The next tool that I want to offer up to us is to think about our values and make sure that the decisions we're making are anchored in those values, right? So when you are anchored in why you do the work, the how becomes less scary. So ask yourself, is this decision that I'm making aligned with who I am becoming, right? Am I choosing this based on fear? Or is this part of my purpose? Is this part of my vision? So you filter that negative self-talk, you filter the noise through your values. Because as Brené Brown says, integrity is choosing courage over comfort. Things may be difficult, things may be chaotic, things may be uncomfortable, choose courage. And when you choose courage, your confidence grows. The fifth tool that I'm offering us today is self-compassion. And self-compassion is to treat yourself with the same kindness that you would extend to a friend when they're struggling with that self-doubt, right? So embrace self-kindness rather than self-judgment. Remember that, to be honest, we all go through this stuff, yeah? This stuff is common, is normal. It's normal to have feelings of self-doubt. It's even normal to have feelings of inadequacy. It's normal to feel like maybe you don't have it all together. That is all, those are normal human emotions, right? And just remind yourself that, life comes with some suffering and some good things. There is balance in there somewhere, right? Give yourself that comforting touch. Give yourself a hug, right? And validate your needs. Don't suppress them. Don't sit on them. Don't push them down. Validate them. It is okay to not be okay. It is okay to feel self-doubt. What we don't want to do is to stay there, right? The only way to get through those feelings is to go through them. It's not to discard them. It's not to suppress them. If you suppress them, they'll show up as something different. So self-compassion is the fifth tool. And finally, is to embrace visibility. Don't wait for perfection. So I've had many instances where, somebody or organizations will reach out to me saying, oh, we'd like to recognize you or honor you for this. We want to write about you. And surprisingly, I often shy off. But when this one came about, I said, why not, right? I might as well. You know why I was shying off is because I kept waiting to be the guru. I kept waiting to be, like the standards I have for how I should be performing are so high, I can't reach them. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to accept this visibility, right? I'm going to accept this recognition and see what it does for me. I'm not going to wait until I've got all my ducks in a row. I don't even know where some of those ducks are. I'm a menopausal woman. I am very forgetful. I don't know, right? Be willing to be seen. Share your life story. Speak from your experience. Your experience could be the very thing that somebody else needs to hear about to feel encouraged. Lead as you grow. Don't wait to be fully grown, right? Lead as you grow. Lead while you're in process. And think of visibility as a leadership responsibility. That if people don't know who you are, where to find you, how to find you, how are they going to get your goods or services, right? So be out there, whichever platform is comfortable for you, or networking, or any of these tools that we have at our disposal. Put yourself out there. You can start small, but do not hide your light under a bushel. Don't wait to be perfect, right? Just put yourself out there. You will learn as you grow. Practice that vulnerable share. That means, don't wait for it to all come together. Sometimes it's okay to show us how you do the things that you're doing, right? Not just the end result, the perfect end result. You can share about the process, and that too is helpful to somebody else, okay? So those are the 6 tools I'm offering us today. And all this contributes to us redefining what we mean by boss energy. This boss energy, especially when we're talking about feminine boss energy, that doesn't mean you have to be a woman, but it does mean you should embrace the feminine side. We all have both sides, right? That energy means that you are anchored, you're self-anchored. You're not waiting for external validation or approval, right? You're decisive, but you're also open-minded. You're not aggressive, you're not bullying, right? You're calm and grounded, not frantic and loud. And when you find yourself being frantic and loud, I've given you a tool, a very simple tool called breathing. Yeah. Take a deep breath and let it out slowly. It'll help to calm you down. And just being mindful. So boss energy shows up in that self-anchored leadership. So we don't wait for external validation. If it comes, gang ho, that's good, right? But we don't wait for that. We are anchored in our own self-awareness, right? In our awareness of our giftedness, in our awareness of what we have to contribute to the world, right? In our awareness that the light we carry, others need it to be able to see their way. So when women embrace their authentic voice and their values, this helps us to become more confident and to have more clarity. And that improves our overall presence. All right, I am almost done here. I'm offering one final tool, and this one covers all of them. And this is the community antidote. And what do I mean by that? Self-doubt and imposter feelings, they thrive in isolation. They thrive in isolation. Negative self-talk will thrive in isolation. So do not allow yourself to be isolated. You need to be in community, right? And that's part of the reason why many of us belong to FOWEC, right? And this gives you, when you see other women being successful as they navigate their own self-doubt, it's normal to feel these things. The second one is that sense of borrowed confidence. On days where you can't see your own value, your BFF, your community, will hold the vision up for you, right? And the third one is the reality check. When you have a trusted circle, it provides objective feedback. It can help to interrupt that I'm a fraud loop. Okay? Somebody called Khadija needs to mute herself. So the community antidote, as I said, it provides those three things: the mirror effect of seeing others navigating their own situations, borrowed confidence on days when you're feeling the weight of self-doubt, your community will hold the vision for you, and that reality check that a trusted circle can provide to interrupt those feelings of self-doubt. So build your council of confidence. And how do you do this? There's probably more ways than the 4 that I've talked about here, but here's 4 ways. One is through group coaching, because group coaching puts you in a position where you're enjoying growing with others, right? So you realize that those issues you're struggling with, those business challenges you're having, those personal challenges you might be struggling with, they are normal, they are common. So you learn from the breakthroughs of others. So you also don't have to repeat mistakes that somebody else already made, right? You learn from others, you learn with others. The other way is through masterminds, and these are high-level brain trust. So a mastermind is a group that comes together to act as your outside board of directors, right? They act as your peers in business, your peers in entrepreneurship, your peers in leadership. So you get the benefit of using the collective intelligence to solve your business hurdles that would otherwise just have you struggling and overthinking and entering into pity-party territory and all that stuff. The other one can be a peer mentorship relationship, when you have somebody who knows you and knows your hustle, right? They can hold you accountable. And one of my accountability partners is in the room, right? We catch up with each other and make sure that whatever we've said we will do, we're doing. So that reality check when the inner critic starts whispering, right, can be slapped right out of us by having that peer. And of course, safe space communities such as FOWEC, because these provide us with low pressure visibility. It is so much easier to sell, right? Like when we have those FOWEC Biashara days, or when we have our get-togethers, right? Our physical get-togethers, you feel a lot more comfortable selling to a bunch of women that you have been interacting with than you might going to something bigger. But that becomes the beginning space for you to test out your ideas or even test out your products, right? Without the fear of public judgment. And when you're in communities such as FOWEC, you really do get to have that benefit of normalizing the fact that entrepreneurship can be untidy, entrepreneurship can be difficult, right? Entrepreneurship can be messy. But when you are in community with others, then you begin to realize, oh, it is normal, it is okay. Others have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, burnt the t-shirt, and they're here to tell their story. So build your council of confidence by ensuring that you've got a combination of these things happening, that you have a peer who can be your, business reality check buddy, right? Your accountability buddy, that you belong to these kinds of communities that offer you low pressure visibility, that if there is opportunity to belong to a kind of mastermind, right? Even if you have to create it for yourself, where you say, I need these 4 or 5 people because we're all in business, we need to help one another, do that. Or you can participate in any of the various group coaching facilities that are available to you. So that's what I have prepared for tonight. I will say that if this resonates with you, then please feel free to join or find out more about my Awakened and Aligned coaching. And this is for women entrepreneurs who are ready to silence that voice of self-doubt, lead with emotional intelligence, and build confidence that is grounded. And this can be either as a one-to-one coaching or group coaching. So we can talk more about that behind the tent. But the world is ready for your boss energy. So what I want to tell you, ladies, and if there are gentlemen in the room, is let your light shine. Do not cover it under a bushel. Now, if you're a member of FOWEC and you want to participate in my coaching programs, I have a 25% discount for FOWEC members if you enroll or at least find out about it. Have a discovery call by February 11th. That is a week from today. Okay, so what questions do you have for me? And I'm gonna stop sharing so that I can see you all.
Dr. I'm back. Do you see me now? Do you see me? That
Yes.
was impressive. You're just going so quickly, and I want people to just applaud you. Makofi for a speaker. That was so nice. That was so generous. That was so complete. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I've been writing my notes. My whole page is full. And even before we transition to the Q&A, I just want to, I've been monitoring the chat box and it's quite on fire. There was a time you asked us to engage and you talked about, so we're going to go to the Q&A. So I'm giving people time to structure their questions. So 2 ways, you can drop your question in the chat box, but if you're in a place where you can unmute your mic, you can just raise your hands and we're monitoring and we're going to see you. But even as you transition to that, I want to read some of the comments that we have in the chat box. There was a point when you started introducing the tools, you asked about how we kind of like the voice in our head. Everyone has a kanyambura. You said kanyambura.
Kavura.
Kavura, yeah. That was so funny. I was laughing on the other end. And someone said they can relate with, one more qualification or certification. Like that was only saying one more qualification, one more certification. That was flow. Felicia says her voice normally goes like, who am I to speak on the imposter voice? Yeah. And then Jane Kishore says, need more opportunities to prove myself. What if I don't deliver or meet expectation? Lillian Wamboy said her voice goes like, I think I'm suffering. No, she said, I think I'm suffering from chronic imposter syndrome. So she could really resonate with what you're saying. Rehema says, imposter syndrome can also emanate from moving from failure to failure to failure. So there have been proof. Flo also said, getting stuck on analysis paralysis. Tabitha said her voice goes like, is where she's worried what other people will say or opinions, and this leads to try to perfect everything. Siska says, I can't do it now. Let me work on myself first. Been there, done that, okay? And then Wanjiru Mambo, hi Wanjiru. She said, she was just resonating with what you're saying. She says, giving myself some compassion, highlight for this evening. Thank you. That was such a highlight for her. Flo came back and echoed and said, do it afraid. And then Rose Murioki said, perfect reflections. Ariana is asking, please share the link on chat. Okay, we're going to do that. And then, okay, Vicky, I see there's a question. Oh, she shared the link. Yeah. So that was just the chat box, how people were just interacting during the session. Quite resonated. For me, it did resonate a lot. Also different. I have different parts. I also have my question, but I'm going to give room first to other people. Vicky, I see Vicky Kademi. I see your question. I'm going to hold on to it. She asks, what is FOIC and how does one join and how much is it? Someone's going to come and address that. But in relation to anything to do with what we've covered today about self-doubt and the tools that we've been given and the antidotes, if anything was not clear or if you want a follow-up question, even a comment, if you want to comment something that resonated with you, this is your time. Again, you're monitoring the chat box and also I'm looking. I hope I'm not missing a hand up. So you can just at the reactions.
And I've posted the handout onto
the handout
the chat.
is in the group. Yeah. I hope I didn't leave anyone out. Okay. I was hoping my question would go last. Lillian says, I like the silencing the kafura aspect, but the kafura is hard, so you find yours. Actually, I was wondering, is it healthy to nickname, like to have I don't know, like a, because I thought like maybe I could just be like, oh, like the dummy is talking. Is that insulting myself if I nickname?
That's insulting yourself.
And
that's
that is
adding to the negative. That's adding to the
not
negative
good?
thought.
Okay. So that's not good, okay? So for me and everyone else, do not insult yourself. Just find something, just find an identity for the negative voice, but don't insult yourself.
Don't call yourself names.
But that's quite helpful. That's quite helpful about, externalizing the voice. It's very nice. Vicky also comes back and says, thank you, Dr. Faith. This was a great eye-opener. It was. I'm not seeing any hands up. I don't know, should I go first? I have a question, even as we wait for others to drop in. Mine is on masterminds, yeah? And I was wondering, when it comes to having a mastermind group, two questions. How niche should it be? This is what I mean. For example, if, it's a mastermind for coaches, is it like more impactful when you have different coaches, like a leadership coach, a relationship coach, a self-awareness coach, or should you just find coaches, or you should build your mastermind on people who are in the same niche as you? The other part of still the same question on masterminds, how big or what's the ideal number for a mastermind? Yeah, that is mine. Nimewaruka nyinyi wote sababu I'm not seeing any hands
Well,
up.
they kept quiet, so I'm not actually sure what the ideal number is because I've seen very big ones and I've seen smaller ones. If we use group dynamics, right,
Mm-hmm.
as a way to think about it, I'd imagine an ideal would be something like between 5 and 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that it's not too big, but it's also not too small.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Variety. I think variety is helpful because sometimes, let's say, when you have coaches in the room, but they all have different niche, right? Or niches, then you can hear things differently because you're looking at it from a different point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it reduces the sense of competition,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where it may feel like if you're all the same kind of coach, it could feel like, oh my goodness, am I really gonna, you might feel like you don't want to share too much because, oh, they might take your idea. We're human,
Okay.
right? But if you have variety, then that diversity could be enriching.
Okay.
That's what I think. And so then when you get, a client who's not your kind of client,
Mhm.
you're able to say, well, I don't do that one, but I know somebody who does,
Yeah.
right? I know somebody who does. So
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's happened. That makes a lot of sense. So thank you for that. That was my question. I'm seeing there's another comment from Jen Gishu. I'm gonna so Ariana, thank you. Your hand is up. I'm gonna come to you next. Jenki Shuru is just a comment in the chat box. She says, "Thank you, Faith. This has been insightful. Enhances what I have been reading, exploring, experiencing in a journey to find my leadership skills." Karibu, karibu. Ariana, you can go ahead. You can unmute and ask your question.
Thank you very much. Oh my God, I'm in darkness, so I'll just shut off my video. Anyway, thank you very much, Dr. Ngunjiri,
at least we know
for
you're
the
real.
amazing talk. Yes, I am. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, and I know this might be a rhetorical question, but does really self-doubt, are there people who don't have self-doubt, or does it ever end? Because I keep, like you were saying, shift feelings to facts. Keep a record of your achievements. For example, I just gonna give a real life example. I'm currently doing a PhD. This position was actually I was scouted to do it. This is my second year. I still have 2 years to come. I've already been offered a postdoc position. The feedback I get from my mentors and supervisors are positive, but I still keep feeling like I'm so clueless. I don't even know what I'm doing. Actually, people ask me about, oh, how is it doing a PhD? I'm like, I actually don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just taking a day at a time. I'm now writing papers, and the perfectionism is so real because last year during appraisal, I was telling my supervisor, I don't think the perfectionist, me being a perfectionist, is affecting my work. But now that I'm writing paper, I'm taking so long just to ensure that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. And I'm just wondering, yes, I have this evidence around me, but I still feel so small. And like even in meetings, of course I know what I'm doing, but I still feel small. I traveled last year to Barcelona, and I was giving a talk to engineers, and I'm like, why was I even asked to give this talk as a social scientist? I mean, do I even belong? It's a constant feeling, and what you've said about acknowledging ourselves, I even do self-talks. I'm doing my best to celebrate small wins, but my goodness, I think for me, I have chronic imposter syndrome, so to say. Yeah, so uh, will I get to a point where I don't feel like this? I see you're laughing, but yeah, it's something I've really, really struggled with, to be honest. And I'm so grateful for this call.
So what's interesting is that the people who first came up with this idea of imposter syndrome actually came up with it in the process of graduate education. That's why I was smiling, because I'm like, you're in the heart of where imposter syndrome happens the most, PhD students. And so Dr. Young, who, like I said, that's who I've trained with, but I've read a lot of other people talking about it, but she's one of the early practitioners. I don't even call her a theorist, a practitioner. She started feeling imposter syndrome when she was a graduate student. So when she read the initial paper that was written about imposter syndrome, she was like, oh, this is me. This is how I feel, right? And so that's what's interesting. That's what I was smiling, right? I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you in that you're very accomplished, right? And yet, you're very accomplished, and yet, in fact, that article was talks about why high achieving women, right, experience this imposter. They feel like frauds in the midst of all their achievements. So does it go away? Yes, it does. It does reduce, and it reduces because, first of all, once you're aware, once you know what it is, then you don't feel like there's something wrong with you, because there's actually nothing wrong with you, right? It's not a psychological problem. It's not even though we use the word syndrome, we're really just talking about patterns of thoughts and behaviors. It's not a psychological, you're not going to find it in the DSM of, psychological and mental health issues, right? It is a normal experience. It has internal and external causes. You're doing something new, right? You're in unfamiliar territory. You're stretching yourself. You're challenging yourself. It will feel uncomfortable, but it will get better with time, because already you're aware that you've got those feelings. It would have been more terrifying if you just tried to sit on those feelings. No, talk about them. Now, when it comes to the perfectionism, one thing that has always helped me is to have, and I did this even when I was in my doctoral program, long before I ever came across the term imposter syndrome, was I had a friend in the same program with me, and we would read each other's work. We would critique each other's work. We would be calling each other at 3 a.m. in the morning when that term paper is refusing to make sense, right? So that you've got somebody who understands what you're doing, who can read your work and say, actually, this is good to go, right? Don't keep postponing submitting. Of course, deadlines also help, because when you have a deadline to submit, you're going to submit whether you think it's ready or not. But you'd be surprised how often academics will submit their work. If it's due at midnight, they'll be submitting at 11:59 p.m. because it is such a rampant thing, right? That it's such a common experience in academia. It's very common in the sciences. It's very common, if you happen to be in a situation where you're the only one or one of a very few who's having that, educational or professional experience. It is normal. So we normalize it, we demystify it, we defang it, right? When we remove those fangs from it, then it is not as powerful. It's not going to stop you from doing what you need to do. I hope that makes sense, but feel free to reach out and we can talk some more.
Okay, thank you very much. I will definitely reach out. Thank you.
There you are in the light.
Yeah, I don't know what has happened. I haven't even changed anything.
You are having
Thank you so
imposter
much.
feelings, so you are hiding.
I think so. I think so. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And congratulations on how far you have gone. So
Yes.
keep going.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes,
Asante.
yeah. And thank you so much for your question, Ariane. I'm sure you spoke on behalf of so many people in the room. Yeah,
You're
we
welcome.
also have two more. We're going to bring it to a wrap. I don't want to leave anyone out, but just a few more comments in the chat box. Jane Tulim says, thank you, Faye. This was quite informative. I'm an introvert and pride myself at my capacity to stay alone. I note that in my alone time, when I'm applying for a job, I'll say all the negative things about myself, and most of the time, talk myself out of completing the application. The tools are men at the right time. So she's just grateful about the tools you shared today. And Tabitha also says, this is a confirmation to just do it. And thank you, Faith, for this session. So that's that. I hope I haven't left anyone out. I don't see any hand up. So with that, I think it's safe to transition to the next phase. So Asante Daktari, as she exits the virtual stage, can we just applaud her? Where are the Shamra Shamra? If you can go to the chat box and just give some Shamra Shamra to Doc as she leaves. Where are they? I can't see. Is it me or I can't see them? Are we good? Oh yeah, I know I see them. Asante so much. If you'd want to maybe follow up with her on the side and you didn't see information, you can text us. Perhaps you can put our information in the chat box, and you can just inquire maybe on how to get in touch with Dr. Faith Ngunjiri for any follow-up, and we will connect you right to her. Now, before you leave, please, just I'm still seeing your 64 hours. Please do not leave, okay? I need your attention for another lecture. I have 10 more minutes with you, and then I'm gonna release you. And I want to invite someone very special, very beautiful, my president, Madam Vicky. Madam President, are you in the room? Madam Vicky. Vicky Karuga, let me be specific, because I see there another Vicky. Are you in the room? She was to be here.
She came in, but it looks like she has disappeared.
Rahab, can you confirm if she's coming, or she wanted to say something?
Yes. She's just
gonna come in. Yes. She's joining. Okay, great. She's coming. There's a question that had been asked. Because if I can take you back, Dr. Faith said there's a special discount for FOEC members. Doc, does it apply to new members if they join today?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so for special, we got a 25 discount for any program with Dr. Faith Ngunjiri here. So she's gonna come in. She's gonna talk a bit more about who we are as FOEC. There's a program lineup of how our calendar looks like this year and how you can plug in. And any question you have about FOEC, she will be able to just cover some. So yeah, so if you have also any other question about FOEC, you can put in the chat box, and then when she comes, she's gonna talk a bit more. Now that I'm here, if you're not here when you're starting, still you're here and with a blackout. My name is Mills Minor. I am a member of FOEC. I also serve in the board, and also I serve and I lead the Learning and Development Committee. I've been your moderator. I'm not an AI, you see, or am I? Because right now with AI, you're never really sure. I'm not an AI. I started with the blackout. I'm back. It's been an honor. Thank you for your time. I've been here, and I see Vicky's here. Her hand is up, and I want to hand over to her. Madam President, hello.
Yes, hi. Sorry, I was here a while back. I had to leave shortly to go um just release someone somewhere and then come back. So happy to be here, happy to listen to a fellow practitioner.
I want to hand over to you. I can leave.
Yes.
I can exit the virtual stage.
Yes.
So Karibu, they're waiting for you and they're happy to hear from you.
Not a problem. Thank you so much. So thank you everyone for coming on board and attending this webinar hosted by a good friend and a fellow practitioner and coach, Dr. Faith Ngunjiri, very passionate about women, entrepreneurs, and passionate enough to even write a book about it. So we've been in excellent hands this evening, just listening about our boss energy and how we should just let it shine through. So please do subscribe to her program, and you can see you have a wonderful discount as a FOEC member. And I really encourage people to take advantage of those free discovery calls that coaches give, because it is through those calls that you start to understand the depth of your need, if at all there's a need. So feel free, book with Dr. Faith Ngunjiri. She's generously given you her time for that call. And also help support us as women in service who are delivering services like coaching and mentoring and helping other women grow, because we don't only grow money-wise, we grow spiritually wise, we grow internally. Our mindsets have to change for us to really conquer those mountains that are before us. But for me today, the thing was to talk about FOWEC, and I think Rehab, who's controlling the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. So the Federation of Women in Business is really an organization that is focused on pushing the agenda of women entrepreneurs. So whether they are in business, investing, whether they're in Kenya, whether they are actually, we also lies with women around COMESA, in Nairobi, in the grassroots, we want to influence the space of women in business by being partakers and being participants in policy formulation, being part of information dissemination to other women, being part of supporting access to finance, empowering women to scale their businesses, and providing opportunities to access regional and international markets. And our pillars so far for 2026 have been around establishing a research center and hub, and also information center for women, and building that up where we can get a lot of information, establishing a center for support, what we're calling shared services. And we did send a proposal to the Ministry of Trade at the beginning of the year to see how can we link up with the ministry to work out a possible solution for FOWEC to help women shorten that gap. You know, you have to go to AGPO, you find you don't even have that certificate. It locks you out of so many opportunities that ask for AGPO. And this is just one of the few affirmative action items that have been done by the government that we should take advantage of. Our objectives are clearly set in the COMESA instrument, because we are actually COMESA Federation for Women in Business, and this was established by the COMESA heads of state through what we call an article. So we are enshrined in the articles that form COMESA as a body, as a regional body. Our mission is really to provide leadership to all women entrepreneurs and association through lobbying, advocacy, training, mentorship, networks, and information sharing. So sessions such as this are useful for us because they help us do one thing, and that is capacity building, training, and mentorship. And then it's my hope that at least you've seen someone here and you said hi to them digitally, as they say. Our mantra is meet, trade, and grow. So every time we meet, we want to grow, whether it's in knowledge or in business, and we also want to trade with each other. We have various partners who we've worked with, and we're increasing these partners as we go along. They've supported us through our pillars, whether it's capacity building, that's usually the large one, resource mobilization, incubation of our members through their learning journeys, and so on and so forth. And we are still looking for more partners that we can work with. We had a donors roundtable this week on Tuesday, and we were selling the agenda of FOWEC to see what partners can come on board to support our initiatives. One big one that we are finding we need partnership with is partners that provide accessible access to finance. We, in this February, are going to have a session where we will also talk about regional trade and how we can enable ourselves to participate in that. So the sectors we cover are as shown, and I won't go into that, but we always share this document as well. We have board members who are entrusted with the oversight of FOWEC. I myself, Vicky Karuga, as the president and chairperson of COMFWIP Kenya, which is the Federation for Women Entrepreneurs in Kenya. Then you have Ms. Violet Tuyongo Mushiri, who acts as the vice president of COMFWIP Kenya chapter. The lovely Mills, who you've just been listening to today, who's the honorary secretary. And she also heads the learning and development section, and she's in charge of the webinars that we deliver. Then we have Annie Shongwa, who's the finance and admin lead, taking care of our administration issues. We have Christine Kasina, who's a super mama, and she's the partnerships lead. We have Angela Mwihaki, who focuses on issues to do with advocacy. We have Winnie Ngumi, who's focused on issues to do with membership as a board member. Then we have Catherine Kidinji, who is our liaison person at the Ministry of Trade, of Investment, Trade and Industry, MITI. Then we also have Rehab Muge, who you have all interacted with, and she is our Chief Liaison Officer and Admin Officer at Conflict Kenya. And all these are people you can reach out to on the WhatsApp group. They're all on the WhatsApp group, and they do make themselves known from time to time. So the next slide, please. We also invite you to participate in some of the committees that we have. And these are just the ones that are up and running for the moment. Committees that support membership, committees that support learning and development. That is Mills over there. She's looking for persons who are interested in training and development, who can help her put these events together for members and for growth. And so if you can look at these committees and you have a gift in any of them, please feel free to join in and support us as we grow FOWEC. FOWEC has really been on a trajectory of growth over the last few years, and we're looking to be even bigger within this year of 2026. So our membership categories are 4. The first 2 focus on the individual woman. And the first one is a FOWEC Amani. And the FOWEC Amani is for the woman who is just starting in business, wants to meet like-minded women, maybe not just starting, about maybe 5 years in business, 10 years, maybe 5 years. But you're not really sure also. So you want to find a space of like-minded women chasing the same things, thinking the same way, challenging you in the same way. This particular membership is for you as an Amani member. But if you're a seasoned woman looking to make more impact, looking for leadership roles, looking to mentor others, I know you have to pay more to be part of Zuri, but we also say that you have been blessed with more, and we ask that you support FOWEC, because FOWEC really relies on membership contributions for it to do the things that it does. The second part is for corporations. We have FOWEC Shirika. This is for CBOs, for chamas, women in associations. And if you know an association that would benefit from FOWEC, we ask you to introduce them to us, because the more we are, the more we're able to attract opportunities from our partners and our funders. So we're really looking for groups of 100, 10, 25, 500 who can come and join us, and they can then be able to carry out our work wherever they are, and they can receive support from us. And then we have, of course, the FOWEC Biashara. This is for corporates and organizations. For example, right now we've just signed up, or we're about to sign up an agreement with AP Insurance of Kenya. They have a great product for women entrepreneurs, and we want to invite them to tell you about it. But they will be then a corporate member, and they support our events, making sure that the quality of our events, our physical events, also becomes even better. Next slide. Next slide. So our contact details are as on the screen, and I'm going to ask Rehab to also share them on the chat, so that should you want to contact us, all you have to do is call our office, and that's the number there, 0798510851. We have an email address, and we also have our socials where we're very, very active, that you can also look for us. So we're asking women entrepreneurs, please join us and be part of this movement. And we promise you networking opportunities. We promise you capacity building opportunities. We promise to give you access to any financiers and their products, and to show you and move in the direction where women entrepreneurs are going and lighting your path. We promise to introduce you to other women like you, who you can have meaningful conversations with one evening that leaves your life one problem solved, or at least one light, one dark alley lit for you as a woman entrepreneur, or even as a woman. And that's about FOWEC. Thank you very much. I'm Rehab. And did we have a calendar of events, or that was it for today?
That's it for today. Maybe you can mention some of the upcoming events, like the 7th Comfort Trade Fair that we are hosting?
Yes, and I think I've mentioned that so many times every time I'm in a webinar and saying Kenya is hosting the 7th trade fair, and we're really excited to do it. But I also want to mention, keep your eyes peeled into the WhatsApp group, because we're having a very exciting physical event at the end of February, where we will be bringing a person who's been involved with the AFCFTA framework, and they're going to be speaking about how we can move our goods and services inter-country. They have a very good program, and they also have a very good platform. We are just about to sign the MOU with them. They're called Real Solutions, and they have been flagged as a partner for AFCFTA, and we're taking advantage of this framework in order to promote ourselves, not just in Kenya, but in Africa as a whole, and possibly then globally. And with those few remarks, again, I thank you all for being part of the webinar, and I want to hand it back to Niels. Niels, over to you.
Wow, thank you. I was not planning on coming back, but asante. So now, I don't know, I'm supposed to speak after the president, but thank you. All the questions that were asked earlier, you've been able to address them extensively. If you still have any other follow-up questions, our number is on the chat box. Rahab, who we've all been calling, asking here, Rahab, can you read for me, Rahab? Because she's very handy, she's available, and she can, if you need maybe more information or you need maybe a flyer or something, she'll be able to advise you or direct you on the next step. It's there in the chat box. It's also there in the posters, I think, yeah. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for staying to the very tail end. We told you not keep you past 9, and I like it when we don't, when we are very punctual with our timings. Thank you so much. Asanteni. Until the next time, we're going to have a B2B next month. Please take note, if you're a woman in business or you know a woman in business who would want to scale regionally. Like we said, we are the Kenyan chapter representing the COMESA. So next month, we're going to do a webinar with the with the members, the East Africa member communities of COMESA. That is Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, just to name a few. So we want to see you there. If you signed up and you have your email in our database, we're gonna send you the leaflet as soon as it's out, and you can register and you can come network with women from the countries that I've mentioned. And please, when you get it, also invite a friend, invite a fellow member, even if you're not at the point where you can scale regionally, but you're curious and want to know what the conversations are like, would want to see you in the room. So thank you so much. Have a lovely night. And as you leave, tafadhali, so that I know you didn't leave us here with your AI machines, kindly just say good night so that I know you're here and you've listened to us today. Oh, thank you so much. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, Asante.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, Asante.